Imagine a place where golden desert landscapes meet the deep blue Mediterranean, where ancient fortresses rise above whitewashed neighborhoods, where palm-lined streets lead toward long sandy beaches, where the mountains seem to fall directly into the sea, and where the landscape is so dramatic that filmmakers have transformed it into ancient kingdoms, frontier towns, and legendary Wild West landscapes. Welcome to Almeria, a city in southeastern Spain where sunshine, history, nature, and Mediterranean culture come together in extraordinary ways. Almeria is one of Andalusia's most fascinating and sometimes overlooked destinations. It doesn't always receive the same attention as Seville, Granada, or Malaga, and perhaps that's part of its magic, because here you can discover a Spain that feels more rugged, more spacious, more authentic, and surprisingly diverse. In a single day, you can explore a 1,000-year-old fortress, walk through historic streets, relax beside the Mediterranean, drive through Europe's only true desert landscape, visit villages shaped by centuries of Moorish and Spanish history, and watch the sun disappear behind volcanic mountains. Almeria has been shaped by Phoenicians, Romans, Muslims, Christians, farmers, fishermen, artists, and filmmakers. Its history is written into its architecture, its landscapes tell stories, and its cuisine reflects the meeting of land and sea. So whether you're planning a trip to Spain in 2026, looking for an alternative to the country's busiest tourist destinations, or simply searching for somewhere extraordinary, join WorldFrame Expeditions as we count down the 10 best things to do in Almeria, Spain. We're starting at number 10, and working our way toward the experience that earns our number 1 spot. So grab your sunglasses, bring your sense of adventure, and let's begin. Number 10. Explore Almeria's Old Town and Puerta de Perchena. Our journey begins in the heart of the city, Almeria's historic center. This is where the city's personality begins to reveal itself. Walk through the streets and you'll discover a fascinating mixture of architectural influences. Whitewashed buildings, historic churches, traditional cafes, colorful balconies, small plazas, and narrow streets where modern life unfolds against centuries-old surroundings. One of the best places to begin is around Puerta de Perchena, a central square and important meeting point. From here, you can gradually explore the surrounding streets on foot. Don't rush. Almeria rewards travelers who wander. Turn down an unfamiliar street. Follow the sound of conversation. Stop at a small cafe. Look up at the balconies. Notice the details carved into old buildings. And allow yourself to get slightly lost. One of the city's great pleasures is discovering places that weren't necessarily on your itinerary. As you explore, you'll also encounter reminders of Almeria's long Islamic heritage. The city was once one of the most important ports of Al-Andalus. Its strategic position along the Mediterranean made it an important center for trade and maritime activity. Today, that history remains visible in the city's layout and monuments. And when hunger arrives, that's when Almeria becomes even more interesting, because this is a city famous for its tapas culture. Order a drink in many traditional establishments and you may receive a small tapa with it. A simple plate of food. A cold drink. A few minutes of conversation. And suddenly you're participating in one of Andalusia's great social traditions. The old town isn't simply something to see. It's something to experience. Number 9. Discover the Cabo English and Almeria's industrial heritage. Now we're heading toward the waterfront. And here you'll find one of Almeria's most distinctive landmarks, the Cabo English. This enormous iron structure extends toward the sea and is a remarkable reminder of Almeria's industrial past. Constructed in the early 20th century, it was associated with the transport and export of mineral ore from the region. At first glance, it may seem unusual compared with Spain's grand cathedrals and ancient castles, but that's precisely why it's fascinating. Travel isn't only about royal palaces and historic monuments. Industrial structures tell stories too. They reveal how cities developed, how economies changed, and how people transformed landscapes. The Cabo English has become an important part of Almeria's waterfront identity. Standing near it, you can look toward the Mediterranean and imagine the activity that once surrounded this area. Ships arriving, workers moving materials, cargo being transported, and the city expanding around its port. Today, the atmosphere is much calmer. The Mediterranean breeze replaces the noise of industry. The structure stands as a monument to another era, and nearby the waterfront provides an excellent place for a relaxed walk. Come around sunset, and the iron structure becomes beautifully illuminated by warm Mediterranean light. It is a perfect example of Almeria's character. History doesn't always look ancient. Sometimes, it looks like steel reaching into the sea. Number 8. Visit the Cathedral of Almeria. Now let's step into the heart of Almeria's religious history. The Cathedral of Almeria. Unlike many European cathedrals designed primarily for ceremonial grandeur, this building has an unmistakably defensive appearance, and there is a reason. Construction began in the 16th century, during a period when coastal communities faced the threat of raids and attacks. The cathedral therefore served both religious and defensive purposes. Its thick walls, fortified exterior, towers, and imposing structure make it look almost like a fortress. Inside, however, the atmosphere changes completely. The architecture becomes more intricate. Light enters through carefully designed openings. Religious artworks decorate the interior, and the scale of the building creates a sense of quiet grandeur. Take time to explore the surrounding area too. The cathedral sits within a historic part of the city, where narrow streets and traditional architecture create a beautiful atmosphere. Imagine how different this area would have looked centuries ago. No modern cars, no tourist buses, no smartphones. Instead, merchants, clergy, fishermen, farmers, soldiers, and travelers moving through a city positioned directly on the Mediterranean frontier. The cathedral is therefore more than a religious building. It's a physical reminder of Almeria's complicated past, a city where faith and defense once had to exist side by side. Number 7. Relax on the beaches of Almeria. After so much history, it's time for the Mediterranean. Almeria is blessed with an impressive coastline, and its beaches offer a completely different way to experience the region. Within and around the city, you'll find stretches of golden sand where visitors can swim, sunbathe, walk, or simply sit beside the sea. One of the most accessible urban beaches is Playa de San Miguel, part of the long coastline stretching beside the city. Here, the Mediterranean becomes your playground. Swim in the warm water, walk barefoot along the shoreline, rent a paddleboard, or simply lie beneath the Spanish sun with a good book. But the real coastal treasures begin when you venture farther from the city. The province of Almeria contains spectacular beaches and secluded coves surrounded by dramatic cliffs and volcanic landscapes. Some look almost tropical, others feel completely wild, and some can only be reached by walking trails or by boat. This is where Almeria begins to reveal its extraordinary geological character. The mountains are dry, the vegetation is sparse, the rocks are dramatic, and the sea is intensely blue. The contrast is spectacular. Imagine standing on a beach surrounded by desert-like mountains, looking across turquoise water under a cloudless Mediterranean sky. It almost doesn't look like Europe. And that unusual combination of desert and sea is one of Almeria's greatest attractions. Number 6. Step into Almeria's cinematic Western history. Now, step into Almeria's cinematic Western history. We're entering a world of cowboys, outlaws, train robberies, dusty frontier towns, and legendary film sets. Almeria has a remarkable relationship with cinema. The landscapes surrounding the province became famous internationally during the golden age of the spaghetti western. Directors discovered that the dry terrain, dramatic mountains, enormous skies, and almost desert-like scenery could convincingly stand in for the American Southwest. Films were made here featuring some of the biggest stars of the era, and the landscape became inseparable from cinematic history. One of the best-known areas is Tabernas Desert. As you travel through it, you may suddenly recognize scenery from classic Western films. Dusty valleys, rocky cliffs, dry riverbeds, golden hills, and enormous horizons. Some film sets have been preserved or transformed into attractions where visitors can explore reconstructed frontier towns. Walk along wooden sidewalks. Look into old saloons. Imagine horses galloping down dusty streets. And picture cameras rolling while actors recreated legendary Western scenes. For film lovers, this is extraordinary. But even if you've never watched a Western, the landscapes themselves are worth the journey. Almeria proves that you don't need to travel to Arizona or Nevada to experience a cinematic desert. Sometimes, the Wild West is hiding in southern Spain. Number 5. Explore Tabernas Desert. And now we go deeper into that landscape. The Tabernas Desert. This is one of the defining natural wonders of Almeria province. The landscape is strikingly different from the image many people have of Spain. Instead of lush green countryside, you encounter dry valleys, rugged mountains, sparse vegetation, rock formations, and endless golden horizons. The climate here is exceptionally arid, creating a landscape unlike almost anywhere else in Europe. Drive through the desert and the scenery constantly changes. One moment you're passing between dramatic cliffs, the next, the landscape opens into a huge valley. Then the road climbs and suddenly you're looking across a panorama stretching toward distant mountains. The desert is particularly beautiful in the early morning and late afternoon. The low sunlight creates long shadows across the rocks. Golden light covers the landscape, and the entire desert seems to glow. For photographers and filmmakers, this is paradise. But there's another reason to visit. The desert tells an important environmental story. Its extreme dryness demonstrates how dramatically landscapes can change over relatively short distances. A few hours away, you can be surrounded by Mediterranean vegetation and beaches. Here, it feels almost like another continent. Take a guided excursion if you want to learn more about the geology, wildlife, and film history. And always bring plenty of water. The desert may look beautiful, but the sun can be intense. Number 4. Discover the natural park of Cabo de Gata-Níjar. Now we're heading toward one of the most spectacular coastal landscapes in Spain. Cabo de Gata-Níjar Natural Park. This enormous protected area combines volcanic mountains, rugged coastline, salt flats, beaches, cliffs, wetlands, and small traditional settlements. And the scenery is extraordinary. Imagine driving along a winding coastal road. On one side, volcanic cliffs. On the other, the Mediterranean stretching endlessly toward the horizon. Then suddenly you see a small white village, a cluster of houses, a quiet beach, a fishing boat, and absolutely nothing that resembles a crowded resort. One of the park's iconic viewpoints is around Arrecife de las Serenas, where jagged volcanic rocks rise dramatically from the sea. The scenery here feels almost prehistoric. The rocks were shaped by volcanic activity millions of years ago. Wind and waves have continued sculpting them, and now they create one of the most photogenic coastlines in southern Spain. The park is also home to a variety of wildlife. Birds gather around the coastal wetlands and salt flats. Marine life thrives offshore, and the dry landscape supports plants specially adapted to harsh conditions. This is a destination where you should slow down, drive carefully, stop frequently, walk the trails, and spend time simply looking. Cabo de Gata is not a place you conquer. It is a place you experience. Number 3. Visit the whitewashed villages of Cabo de Gata. One of the most beautiful aspects of Almeria is the contrast between its wild landscape and its traditional villages. Among the most atmospheric are villages such as Níjar, San Jose, Las Negras, and Agua Amarga. Each has its own personality, but together they represent a slower, Mediterranean way of life. Let's begin with Níjar. Located inland, Níjar is known for traditional architecture and local crafts. Its whitewashed buildings climb the hillside. Small streets twist between houses, and colorful ceramics and textiles reflect the area's long artistic tradition. Then head toward the coast. San Jose offers a more relaxed seaside atmosphere, with restaurants, beaches, and access to the surrounding natural park. Las Negras feels smaller and more bohemian. White buildings contrast with dark, volcanic rocks, and the sea is never far away. Agua Amarga offers another beautiful coastal setting, a small village beside a sheltered bay. The atmosphere is calm, the pace is slow, and the perfect afternoon might involve nothing more than lunch beside the water, followed by a swim. This is where travel becomes less about attractions and more about atmosphere. Sit outside, order a cold drink, try local seafood, watch fishermen prepare their boats, and allow the afternoon to disappear. Because in places like these, there is no reason to hurry. Number 2. Explore the Alcazaba of Almeria. And now, we arrive at the monument that dominates the city, the magnificent Alcazaba of Almeria. Rising dramatically above the historic center, this enormous fortress is one of the most important examples of Islamic architecture in Spain. Construction began in the 10th century under the Caliphate of Cordoba, and the complex later expanded as Almeria grew in importance. From the moment you approach, you understand why this location was chosen. The fortress sits high above the city. From its walls you can see the Mediterranean, the port, the old town, and the surrounding landscape. For centuries, this elevated position provided both protection and strategic control. Inside, the Alcazaba feels like an entire city within a city. Massive defensive walls, towers, courtyards, gardens, water systems, residential areas, and archaeological remains. As you walk through the complex, imagine Almeria during the height of its Islamic period. The port would have been busy. Ships arrived from across the Mediterranean. Merchants traded goods. Craftsmen worked in workshops. Scholars and travelers passed through. And the fortress stood above everything. One of the most beautiful sections is the garden area. Water channels and greenery create a peaceful contrast with the massive stone walls. This reflects an important principle of Islamic architecture. Water and gardens were not simply decorative. They represented life, comfort, and paradise in an otherwise challenging environment. And then there are the views. Stand on the fortress walls. Look toward the sea. The city spreads below you. The Mediterranean shines beyond it, and the mountains frame the horizon. This is the moment when Almeria's entire story seems to come together. Ancient civilization, Islamic history, Spanish heritage, Mediterranean trade, modern urban life, all visible from one extraordinary place. The Alcazaba isn't simply Almeria's most famous monument. It is the city's memory carved into stone. Number 1. Experience the magic of Cabo de Gata's coastline at sunset. And now, we've reached number 1. Not a museum, not a fortress, not a single monument, but an experience. The moment when Almeria's greatest elements come together. The Mediterranean coastline of Cabo de Gata at sunset. Imagine arriving late in the afternoon. The heat of the day is beginning to fade. The roads become quieter. The sunlight turns golden. You find a viewpoint above the sea. Below you, dark volcanic rocks meet deep blue water. Small waves roll towards secluded coves. The mountains stretch into the distance, and the sky begins to change. First, gold, then orange, then pink, then deep red. The volcanic landscape becomes almost black against the glowing horizon, and the Mediterranean reflects the final light of the day. There are no skyscrapers, no enormous crowds, no constant traffic. Just nature, wind, sea, stone, and sky. This is Almeria at its most powerful, a destination that doesn't need artificial spectacle, because the landscape itself is spectacular. And perhaps that's why this experience deserves number 1. Almeria is a city of contrasts, desert and sea, ancient fortress and modern city, mountain and coastline, Moorish heritage and Spanish tradition, cinema and reality. And nowhere is that contrast more beautiful than here. As the sun disappears beyond the Mediterranean, you realize something. Almeria isn't a destination you simply check off a list. It stays with you. In the color of the desert, in the taste of fresh seafood, in the echo of ancient stone walls, in the smell of the sea, and in that final golden light over Cabo de Gata. If you have additional time, Almeria offers even more experiences. Visit the Museum of Almeria to explore the region's archaeological history. Discover the city's traditional Almeria shelters, underground spaces created during the Spanish Civil War. Walk along the waterfront at sunset. Explore local markets. Visit nearby archaeological sites. Take a boat trip along the Cabo de Gata coastline. Go snorkeling in clear Mediterranean waters. Hike through protected landscapes, or simply spend a lazy afternoon enjoying tapas in the city center. Almeria rewards curiosity. The more you explore, the more you discover. No journey through Almeria is complete without food, and one of the city's greatest pleasures is its tapas culture. Start with local seafood. Fresh grilled fish, prawns, calamari, mussels, and other Mediterranean specialties. Try gurulos, a traditional dish involving small handmade pasta pieces, often combined with meat or seafood. Look for ajo blanco, a cold almond and garlic soup, particularly refreshing in hot weather. Try caldo de pimentón, a regional dish with a rich paprika character. And don't forget the classic Spanish favorites: jamón, tortilla española, patatas, olives, cheese, and fresh bread. Then there are the vegetables. Almeria is an important agricultural region, and its produce appears on tables throughout Spain. Tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, and other vegetables thrive in the region's unique climate. Pair your meal with a local Spanish wine, and finish with a sweet dessert or coffee. The best way to experience Almeria's food? Don't order everything at once. Go tapas hopping. Try one place, then another, then another. Turn dinner into a journey. For first-time visitors, staying in central Almeria makes it easy to explore the old town, cathedral, Alcazaba, restaurants, and waterfront. If your priority is the beach, consider accommodation near the coastal areas. For a nature-focused trip, staying around Cabo de Gata or nearby villages can place you closer to beaches, hiking trails, and natural attractions. And if you're looking for something peaceful and atmospheric, a small guest house in one of the whitewashed coastal villages can be unforgettable. Imagine waking up, opening the shutters, and seeing the Mediterranean outside. That's the kind of morning Almeria does beautifully. Almeria is known for its exceptionally sunny climate. Spring and autumn can be particularly pleasant for sightseeing, hiking, road trips, and exploring the natural parks. Summer is ideal if your priority is beaches and swimming, but temperatures can become very high, particularly inland and in the Tabernas Desert. If you plan to explore the desert or hike in Cabo de Gata during warmer months, start early. Carry plenty of water. Protect yourself from the sun, and avoid strenuous activity during the hottest part of the day. Winter can also be an attractive time for travelers seeking mild weather and fewer crowds. The landscapes remain beautiful year-round. The city center is relatively easy to explore on foot, but if you want to discover the wider province, a car can be extremely useful. This is especially true for Tabernas Desert, Cabo de Gata-Níjar Natural Park, remote beaches, mountain villages, and smaller coastal communities. A road trip allows you to stop whenever something catches your eye. And in Almeria, that happens often. A viewpoint, a hidden beach, a whitewashed village, a dramatic mountain, or a roadside cafe. Just remember to drive carefully, particularly on narrow rural roads. Before you begin your adventure, here are a few important tips. Number 1. Bring sun protection. The Almerian sun can be powerful. Hat, sunscreen, sunglasses, and plenty of water. Number 2. Wear comfortable shoes. Historic streets, fortresses, trails, and natural parks are best explored on foot. Number 3. Plan outdoor activities around the heat. Start early whenever possible. Number 4. Respect protected natural areas. Don't remove rocks, plants, shells, or other natural objects. Stay on designated trails where required. Number 5. Don't underestimate distances. The province is larger than the city itself. Allow enough time between destinations. Number 6. Learn a few Spanish phrases. A simple hola, por favor, gracias, and cuánto cuesta can make interactions more enjoyable. And finally, don't rush. Almeria isn't about checking off attractions as quickly as possible. It's about allowing the landscape to surprise you. Almeria is one of those destinations that can surprise you. You arrive expecting beaches and discover a fortress. You expect Mediterranean scenery and discover a desert. You expect Spain and discover layers of Phoenician, Roman, Islamic, Christian, and modern history. You come for the sunshine and leave remembering the landscapes, the food, the people, the villages, the sea, and those unforgettable sunsets. From the towering Alcazaba to the cinematic landscapes of the Tabernas Desert, from the volcanic coastline of Cabo de Gata to the quiet streets of Almeria's historic center. This is a destination filled with stories, a place where the Mediterranean meets the desert, where history meets nature, and where every road seems to lead toward another extraordinary view. So if you're planning your next Spanish adventure in 2026, consider going beyond the familiar. Look south, toward the dry mountains, toward the blue Mediterranean, toward the white villages, toward the ancient fortress overlooking the sea, toward Almeria. Because sometimes, the greatest adventures are waiting in the places travelers haven't discovered yet. If you enjoyed this journey with WorldFrame Expeditions, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for more cinematic travel guides from around the world. And tell us in the comments, which Almeria experience would you choose first? The ancient Alcazaba, the Tabernas Desert, the beaches, the cinematic western landscapes, or the spectacular coastline of Cabo de Gata? Until our next expedition, keep exploring, keep discovering. And remember, the world is far more beautiful when you take the time to see it. This is WorldFrame Expeditions. Hasta luego, Almeria, and safe travels.